Public Factory.
Hey, this is Josh Hennig reminding you to trust Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Because when we needed to make the 97.3 ESPN studio comfortable, that's who we called, and you should too. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Jenkins technicians are trained to do it all. For new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing and drain cleaning services, call 609-641-6262. Online at jenkinsandsons.com.
A town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
He is hit. He stumbles. He's down.
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move.
Here's Josh Hennig.
What a busy night in Philadelphia sports tonight. Eagles coming up here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Phillies over on our sister station, Rock 104.1. It's Philadelphia, it's Houston, and not one, but two fields of play. And we'll try to get you all the details tonight here on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Every Thursday also, we talk with 1992 Heisman Trophy winner Gino Torretta about the college football weekend, thanks to Touchdown Radio Network. I want to also hear from you guys out there. 609-403-0973 is the text board. You also can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. You can let me know your thoughts and feelings on the games tonight, Phillies and Eagles, what your plans are for the game. I know I'm going out to watch both games. And I think, Mike Gill and Ryan spent part of the Sports Bash before me talking about, what is your setup for the game? And, me being, the guy who, brings things back to reality, to me, your setup depends on your situation. Not everybody has two TVs to set up. Not everyone has the desire to stream something on their phone or on their laptop or on a device, right? Not everybody wants to do things a certain way. So I think that your setup is heavily dependent on your circumstances. And that's just at least my perspective. I'm not going to expect everybody to be able to do exactly what I do or somebody else does. So, for me, I'm going to go out and watch the game. I want to feel the experience with people. I don't get to experience going out with the people and the fans as much as I like. So tonight's an opportunity for me to do that. I'll give you my thoughts on the Phillies game tonight and the Eagles game tonight, but we got to start with last night because I told you guys yesterday on Game Night that this was my worry last night. My worry was you're going into a game with the guy who is the Astros version of Ranger Suarez, cool, calm, and collected under pressure. And I was worried that Aaron Nola would be figured out by the Astros. Well, for 4 innings, one was right and the other, analysis was wrong. For 4 innings, you had an amazing pitcher's duel, and it felt like you were going to get to the 6th and 7th inning with a low-scoring game. Well, last night is when things got out of hand. For the first time in this postseason, a Rob Thompson decision blew up in his face. Nola gets the bases loaded, and it's a catch-22. It's a no-win situation because on one hand, Thompson has been doing this all year. Thompson all year has been doing I'm going to bring Alvarado in these really tough, rough situations, right? And the postseason and the regular season, this is what Alvarado's role is. That's what Tom said after the game last night. This was Alvarado's role. This was Alvarado's situation. And so for me, I'm not angry or mad about it, but I do think that could you maybe have let Nola try to work his way out of it? We saw in the postseason the Phillies have let Wheeler, and Ranger work out of tough situations, why was the fifth inning last night a situation where you couldn't work your way out of work his way out of that situation? And I think that that's where the rubber meets the road, because if you leave Nola in and it doesn't work, Thompson's getting ripped today. If you take Nola out and you put Alvarado in and it doesn't work, you're still getting ripped. So it's a no-win situation for Thompson. Me, I would have kept him in there. Personally, I would have kept Nola in just to see what happens. Now, it doesn't mean literally that it would have worked, but I feel like I would have liked to have seen Nola maybe, dig a little deep, and maybe I'm some old school guy that doesn't understand modern baseball, fill in the blank, adjective about me. But, I go back to all the years. I told Mike Gill yesterday, and I'll reiterate it again today. In many ways, the guy that Aaron Nola reminds me of is a pitcher from the 90s who had a good but not great career. And that's Jimmy Key. And the reason why I bring up Jimmy Key is not because they're similar pitchers in terms of like their actual stuff, but they have similar demeanors. Jimmy Key was a guy that had multiple seasons with 17 wins, 16 wins, 18, 17. And he pitched a ton of postseason games. And he was just a guy who was never the greatest pitcher in the world. I mean, the guy had a 3.15 ERA in the postseason. But he won 5 of his 8 games as a postseason pitcher. And I always felt like Jimmy Key was the guy that was never going to give you the greatest performance in the world, but he was going to give you a serviceable outing. Aaron Nola is much more of a strikeout pitcher than Jimmy Key. So, I'm watching Nola last night, and he looked like the Nola that we know he can be for about 4 of those innings. And then he struggled in the 5th. And I don't think he ran out of steam. I don't think he ran out of bullets. I don't think that it was a situation where he just couldn't do it anymore. But I do think that there was a point in the game where you're looking at him and you're saying, is he able to reach back and get one? And he couldn't do it. And then the Phillies end up losing the game because Alvarado imploded. But you come into this game tonight and you didn't burn through your whole bullpen, okay? And Thompson said last night that Alvarado can pitch tonight. So, look, there's a lot of positives still heading into this game tonight because, one, you beat up on Verlander a little bit in game 1. And Verlander is vulnerable in the World Series. He hasn't won a game in the World Series. His teams have only won one of his World Series starts, and he didn't even win that game. The team had to come back in that game. So you have a situation where you have a vulnerable pitcher. And, maybe this is the moment that, Dave Dombrowski gets his flowers, because what if Syndergaard goes out there and gives you 3-4 good innings? Syndergaard is not completely washed. Is he the Syndergaard he used to be? Absolutely not. He doesn't have the ability to blow guys away anymore, and his ability to be consistent is dicey at times. You could argue that Kyle Gibson has given you more good outings this year than Syndergaard has. You go through his Phillies resume and you realize that he has 3 starts where he's given up 4 or more runs. He has another 3 starts where he gave up 3 or fewer runs. So that means that 6 of his Phillies starts, 6, he wasn't giving you a lot. So 6 of his 9 starts, he wasn't that great. But can he find something to just get you through a few innings in this game? Or does Thompson give him the quick pull? Does he give him the quick hook out of there? And who do you bring in that situation? I think that Thompson, I don't think Thompson's going to second guess himself to that. I think Thompson plays the game in the situation. But I think every Philly fan in that stadium tonight at Citizens Bank Park is going to be wondering, man, if Alvarado comes into this game, what's going to happen? And of course, you can hear Phillies game 5 tonight. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. over on sister station Rock 104.1. Here on 97.3 ESPN. Eagles tonight at 7 p.m. is pregame coverage for Eagles Texans here on 97.3 ESPN. And if you want to watch the Eagles and the Phillies, why not bet, watch, and win over at the FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's off the boardwalk in Atlantic City with 10 betting kiosks, 5 betting windows, 13 big screen TVs, and plenty of comfortable seating for you to enjoy whatever game interests you. So head over to FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's in Atlantic City to get on all the action this season. Because FanDuel wants every better experience to be enjoyable and fun. Visit FanDuel.com/playawell. Learn more. Must be 21 or to play and present in New Jersey. To bet online. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. I'm not going to ignore the Eagles, okay? I'm wearing an Eagles shirt today because this is kind of like my protest, right? The Phillies are going to have their season done no matter what by the end of the weekend. And we're still going to have the Eagles the rest of the year. And I want to play you a quick audio clip about Jalen Hurts. So I was listening to Jason and Travis Kelce's podcast, okay? New Heights. And the description that Kelce gave about Jalen Hurts' importance, I think is something that every football fan needs to hear, whether you're an Eagles fan or not. Listening to Kelce, Jason, talk about his quarterback this way, I think is an incredible example to the rest of the world of how you can't let the people who think they know the game tell people like you listening and me here in the studio what we see is wrong.
And it's hard to win every single week. And the fact that we're still undefeated, and the biggest reason, not the biggest reason, but I mean, you want to talk about MVP, not only has Jalen Hurts' numbers been up there with the premier quarterbacks in this league, and his playmaking ability has been up there, but look at the turnover differential. We're like astronomically higher than the next closest team. And part of that is our defense has created a lot of turnover. But the biggest part of that is that we have taken care of the football. Yeah. And we've said this before, and I think that this is a vastly underrated part of Jalen Hurts' football game right now, is that not only is he being a playmaker, but he is doing it in a way that is smart. He is taking care of the football. He is making good decisions, right? It's hard to be aggressive and to score points and put up yards the way he has, while also doing so in not being prone to making mistakes. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he's doing that and leading our team and not putting us in negative situations, I mean, if that's not an MVP candidate, at the top, I don't know which one is.
Now, I know some people might say, look, that's his teammate. That's what his teammate thinks. But, he's now the third person I've heard this week. I heard Dan Orlovsky say this on multiple shows on ESPN television. Ryan Leaf is on Good Morning Football on NFL Network this week. I've heard multiple people say this now this week, that Jalen Hurts' value, his best attribute, has nothing to do with the traditional quarterback stat. It's his leadership. It's the fact that he doesn't turn the ball over. It's the fact that, he puts it in a position to be successful. These are important things. And I don't know if Jalen's going to win MVP. If you ask me who the MVP is right now, I'm probably giving it to Josh Allen. But if the Eagles are still undefeated at the end of this month, doesn't that change how you view Jalen moving forward? If the Eagles finish the year, let's say 14-3 or 15-2, again, doesn't that change how you look at this quarterback? Because he may not be the sole reason why they're winning games, but he's definitely not losing them games. And that is a major thing that we as sports fans don't always appreciate. Sometimes being a winner is about not being a loser. Okay? Sometimes being a great quarterback or a successful player or a winning athlete in sports is not about literally wins and losses. It's about what you do between the lines. And I think that the Eagles are going to win this game tonight. And I'll give you my keys to the game a little bit later in the show. But I think the Eagles win tonight in large part because this team, I don't think is taking their foot off the pedal. I think Jalen is as motivated and as focused and as serious as anybody in that locker room. And you hear from Kelsey about how highly he thinks of his quarterback. And you know what? There's probably a part of Kelsey that says, you know what? I've played with Nick Foles. I've played with Carson Wentz. I played with Sam Bradford. I played with Michael Vick. And let me tell you, this guy is different. And that's an interesting thing coming from a guy like Kelsey. Get to your text messages a little bit later in the hour. 609-403-0973 is the text board, and your DMs in the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night, 1992 Heisman Trophy winner and Touchdown Radio Network college football analyst Gino Torretta joins us for his weekly conversation next here on Game Night with me, Josh Hennig, on 97.3 ESPN.
You haven't downloaded the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app? Well, go get it now to follow all the Philly sports teams at 97.3ESPN.com, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Listen up, South Jersey football fans. Are you interested in solar? Want a free roof? EMT Solar and Roofing has you covered. Visit ESPNsolar.com to see if your home qualifies for a free roof with solar installation. Don't wait, act now. Start saving thousands and virtually extinguish your electric bill. ESPNsolar.com is the place to go for your roofing or solar needs. No commitments, no hidden fees. Go to ESPNsolar.com to see if you qualify.
Hey guys, JR here from WagerPro.com. I absolutely love one side of tonight's Thursday night football game, and it's yours absolutely free. Call 800-499-3733. That's 800-499-3733. 7-0 Philadelphia heads to NRG Stadium to take on a feisty 1-5-1 Houston team as a 14-point road favorite to start off Week 9 in pro football. Kick off your Week 9 with an easy winner with this game tonight. Call 800-499-3733. I love this game, and I'm releasing it free to all callers on my famous recorded hotline. Call 800-499-3733. That's 800-499-3733. One more time, guys. Call now, 800-499-3733. 800-499-3733. And visit WagerPro.com.
Anticipation is building. The holidays are just around the corner, and at the Home Depot, we can't wait. With Black Friday savings all through November, you can count down to Christmas early with a Santa Countdown Inflatable Special Buy, only $69.98. Or anticipate when friends and family come to visit with an entrance full of LED lights that will welcome them and the holidays with open arms. Get the holiday magic started early. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Son, get in the car.
No, Dad, not your car. It smells horrid and it looks awful. I'm scared, Dad. I'm really scared.
Is your old car really scary? Matt Platt Mitsubishi wants your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Push, pull, even drag it in to Matt Platt Mitsubishi and get more for your trade when you purchase any select new 2022 Mitsubishi SUV, plus every new Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross or Outlander SUV. Put zero down and pay only 2.9% financing. Worried that your credit will make car buying scary? Matt Platt Mitsubishi knows bad things happen to good people. We finance your future, not your past, even if your credit is less than perfect. Simply Matt Platt Mitsubishi. Unapproved with Tier 1 credit. Rebates and incentives to dealer. Go to mattplattmitsubishi.com for complete details. Plus tax, license, registration fees. Offers can't be combined. Expires 11/5/22. So come in today and get your deal your way. Located right in the heart of Glassboro for over 30 years.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot, but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Each week we talk college football with 1992 Heisman Trophy winner and football analyst from the Touchdown Radio Network, Gino Torretta, joins us each week, talk college football. We'll get back to the Eagles and Phillies conversation in just a bit. Keep your text coming in, 609-403-0973. I see you, Jeff in Ocean City. We'll check in what Jeff had to say and others in just a bit. But this might be one of the most pivotal weekends in college football with a massive game. But before we get to that game, the Touchdown Radio game of the week is Florida State and Miami, one of the best rivalries in all of football. And Gino Torretta joins us right now here on Game Night on 97.3. Gino, I got a small feeling you might be a little extra excited for your game this week.
I don't know, Josh. Did you see Miami play Virginia last week? They didn't score a touchdown and had needed 4 overtimes to win the game. So I don't know if I'm excited or dreading that fact. I think I saw one stat that I thought was kind of cool was I think the Tennessee Georgia game, which I'm sure we'll get into. It's the first time since '92 that 2 teams in the top 3 have faced each other from the SEC East. So it kind of seems like that's been how long Miami's been kind of irrelevant in the college football world. That was back in my day.
Well, let's get to – I want to touch on Miami and Florida State just for a moment here because, Gino, I want you to explain to people who maybe they never played D1 football, right? Or maybe, all they know is like their high school rivalries and stuff like that. Talk to the listener out there who didn't live what you did. You went to Miami. At the peak what Florida State and Miami is like. In many ways, one could argue that in the 80s and into the 90s, Miami and Florida State then is very comparable to many of the top rivalries people can, say off the top of their head today.
Well, there's no question. When I was in school, it was basically the inside track to win a national championship, whoever won that game. Fortunately, when I was at Miami, we won 4 of 5. But growing up in California, I knew, Florida and Florida State were rivals of Miami. Florida, they stopped playing Miami a year before I got there in '87. But really what made it special is all of the, majority of my teammates, if they're from Florida, they grew up playing against each other, from Pop Warner ball on. And it was just, it was a tight community. They were still friendly, but man, when it came down to game time, it was war. And, their families of guys are from Miami went to Florida State. They all still lived in Miami. They're obviously rooting for Florida State. We just had a lot smaller school. It was a bigger public institution, Florida State. So it was just, and like I said, really was whoever won, we thought was going to win the national championship. And that's kind of what it came down to back then.
What was the biggest surprise for you as a guy who's not originally from Florida to go to Miami from California? What was what was the initial thing that maybe surprised you or you didn't realize how significant it was about a rivalry like that in Florida?
Well, I think it was not only the rivalry, it's just the speed, the speed of all the players that, were teammates of mine and obviously, on the other side of the ball, it was a different level, and like I said, it was like, that was the game circled from the start. I mean, Bobby Bowden, after we kept winning and, after wide right 1 and 2, I think he said they're going to put on my tombstone when I pass away, at least I played Miami, because that was his only loss for a number of years. And, we I'm sure cost him a national championship in a few of those years.
Touchdown Radio Network game of the week is Florida State versus Miami. 7:30 p.m. is the kickoff. But before that game, we mentioned earlier, is the game of the weekend. And folks can hear that here on 97.3 ESPN. Before Florida State Miami kickoff, it's Georgia, it's Tennessee. And Gino, I'm just going to open the door to you. What is the biggest part of this Tennessee-Georgia matchup game that you are going to be looking for?
Can Georgia's defense slow down Tennessee's offense? I think that, they've continually gotten better. Hennig and Hooker's continually gotten better. Really, they're running a lot of the old Art Briles Baylor offense, just spread the field really wide, double stack near the sideline with wide receivers. If you try to stop that, then Hendon Hooker, and his running backs they're gonna kill you running the ball in the box. And nobody's been able to slow them down. I mean, they're 45 plus points a game offensively. Now, Tennessee's defense is really the weakness, I would say, of this game. And so if Georgia can kind of slow down, win a couple drives, then all of a sudden Georgia's offense should be able to, put up points. I mean, I would equate it to it's going to be like the Alabama-Tennessee game where defense was optional and it was just kind of back and forth up and down the field, and it may come down to who's ever got the ball last.
Yeah, the thing with Tennessee's defense, Gino, is that, their run defense is extremely better than their pass. It's like their pass defense is optional at times, and their run defense is pretty good.
But is that a result of their pass defense is so bad that run defense stats are good?
It's a great
That's
question.
What I would say. It's like, heck, if you could throw for 3 something, your run defense is going to be bad, because if I'm the offensive coordinator, I'm chucking it up and down the field on them.
Well, it's a weird thing also because, Georgia actually has a balanced offensive attack. They're averaging over 200 rushing yards a game, and they don't have as many passing yards on the season as Tennessee does. So, like, if Georgia has to get into a shootout with Tennessee, Gino, is Stetson Bennett up for that challenge?
Well, the question is their defense. I mean, Tennessee's going to run. What do they run? They run a play. It's like ridiculous numbers, the amount of times that they're running plays.
Yeah.
And I think that, where other teams have kind of slowed them down early, I mean, it wears on you. So I think that part of your defensive game plan is that balanced offense to where, hey, we're going to take time off the clock, keep our defense off the field. But also, you need to hit pay dirt when you're doing that and taking time off the clock, because they're going to run a bunch of plays in this game, and Georgia is going to be forced to substitute. Tennessee is great. Just having watched them again last week against Kentucky, their offense never huddles, and if you try to substitute, they would just run a line of scrimmage and snap a ball. There was one snap, I swear, I think Kentucky had about 18 guys on defense. They didn't know who was running on the field, who was running off the field, and Tennessee snaps the ball and gets a free play. So with Georgia, you got to pick those spots, one, and you have to substitute when they substitute to keep your guys fresh.
This is only the third road game for Tennessee this year, Gino. So how big is that? Because they played Alabama and Kentucky and Florida all at home. Could that maybe be part of the deciding factor here? Is that Georgia home field advantage?
Oh, I think it's enormous. I mean, Sanford Stadium is a true home field advantage, just like, Neyland Stadium for them is a true home field advantage for Tennessee. So this is going to be, the communication from the sidelines is going to be critical, and they have not had to face this kind of, adversity of the environment, but also, part of the strength of adversity of environment is the 11 guys you're trotting out on offense or defense. I mean, it takes the fans, but it also takes a pretty darn good team on the field to utilize the fans. So I think you're right, and that's why I would lean towards Georgia, but I think this is just going to be a matchup just like the Tennessee Bama game, back and forth, and it may come down to a knuckleball over the crossbar again.
And by the way, that's not the only top 10 matchup this weekend. The other one is Alabama, number 6, LSU, number 10. I mean, Gino, when they come out with those rankings on Tuesday night, we may be seeing a completely different top 10 than we saw.
Well, there's no question. And I think that, Alabama has done a great job, and Nick Saban calls it rat poison, and the success of his team, how they deal with success. You see in any sport, you see complacency when you have success, and he has never allowed that into his program, which is just absolutely amazing. And it seems like if they did stumble, or if they do stumble in seasons, and they stumbled already once and, lost to Tennessee on the road, they seem to refocus their efforts and make sure that, their back's against the wall, and they, kind of just march through the rest of the season and win the rest of them. So I think that this is huge to see if Alabama, has righted the ship and they go in one of the toughest environments. I mean, LSU in Baton Rouge is, just an awesome environment. If you ever get a chance to go to a night game there, go. And it should be just amped up and ready to go. I still think Alabama has the much better roster in this game. They're going to go on the road and win pretty handily.
And the other side of this is that the winner of this game is in all likelihood in the driver's seat for the SEC championship game, because both LSU and Alabama both have a loss to Tennessee this year. So, the loser of this game on that conference standings is going to be huge.
Yeah, pretty much the loser's out, and the winner is probably going to face Georgia Tennessee winner for the SEC championship. So, just a awesome game, and like I said, that environment nighttime and in Baton Rouge is I would say top 3 environment in college football, if not the best.
1992 Heisman Trophy winner and national champion at the University of Miami, Gino Torretta, joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. Thanks to the Touchdown Radio Network. Game of the week is Florida State versus Miami. Gino, a couple other teams I want to ask you before I let you go. TCU, some people are saying they didn't get a fair shake by the committee. They got Texas Tech this weekend. I think most people think they're going to beat Texas Tech, but is there anything that TCU can do to maybe, get in better favor with those voters, or do they just need everybody in front of them to fall apart?
Well, it's disappointing. I mean, I would have to agree with them. I mean, based on the record, I think of the top 3 in the playoff ranking, Tennessee, Ohio State, and Georgia are clearly the 3 best. And I wouldn't probably say in that order. I'd probably put Georgia 1, Tennessee 2, Ohio State 3, but that's me. After that, I think Michigan and TCU would be the next 2 teams that are battling for 4, and Clemson would be below those 2, and then Alabama below them. That would be mine. But, for whatever reason, they seem to think, the Big 12 conference has been great this year. And then, they have the playoff committee has the only 3-loss team is the University of Texas from the Big 12, which TCU beat. So if you're going to give props to Texas at 24, don't you give props to TCU? It's almost like brand bias against TCU that, they haven't been there. But their resume to me is better than Clemson's and right there with Michigan so far.
It's a strange thing, as you mentioned Michigan. I'm glad you brought that up, because I know for some people, they look at Michigan and they say, well, Michigan and TCU have almost the same resume. Do we really think that the Big Ten is that much better than the Big 12? You've mentioned it multiple times to me, Gino, here on this segment, that, Ohio State is so far and above the rest of their conference that, it's hard to, process the rest of the teams in the conference.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how do you figure out how good the Big Ten is when Ohio State and Michigan haven't played each other? They're far superior to the rest of the conference.
Right.
So you can't say that. Their resume, but TCU has already played the big boys of the conference and the Big 12, and they're undefeated. That's why I'm like, their resume at this point to me is better than those schools. Are they as good, or can they beat them in a head-to-head matchup? Well, you know what? Hopefully we get to see that in the playoff. But to put Alabama in front of them, and when TCU's undefeated, it's just, you kind of feel bad I feel bad from the standpoint of, these kids don't make the schedule. They don't decide how good their opponents are. Right. They just go out and play. And they've gone out and played, and they've won every game every single week. They're playing well. Dugans is, their quarterback. Like I said, I've been pro TCU after they smoked Oklahoma, and I think they got a raw deal in the initial rankings. Now, Georgia, Tennessee play. 1-3. Michigan, Ohio State, that's 2-5. This thing should take care of itself before the end of the year, but as well as I do at the end of the year, there is some bias to brands in the college football rankings.
Ain't that the truth? There is one team, though, that is going to be cheering for Georgia pretty hard this Saturday, and that's number 8, Oregon. Gino, outside of that Georgia loss, you could argue that Oregon is looking at Georgia and saying, I hope they're number 1. I hope that they go undefeated, because that makes Oregon's resume look a little less ridiculous.
Well, no question. Yeah, and what we thought, after the first week, we're like, all right, the Pac-12's out of it as soon as USC loses, if they did, and Oregon's righted the ship. Bo Nix has started to play well. Their offense is playing better, but they don't have an easy schedule the rest of the way. They got Washington at home, that's a huge rivalry. Washington, Oregon. They got Utah later in the season, and then the Civil War. Oregon State's played pretty well, so Oregon's far from done. But yeah, you're exactly right that they're like, hey man, we that's our only loss. I will say though that when you point that out, you lost like 49-3 or whatever that smoke job was. It might not be good for Oregon to remind people that they actually played Georgia in the first game.
Listen, I know it was 49-3, Gino, because I gave out the pick on the air that the game would hit the under, and the under was 53.5. So it hit by the skin of its teeth. So I'll never forget that score.
Beautiful.
So do you think that then, before I let you go, if Oregon goes undefeated, do you feel like that final 3 games of the schedule, can that potentially play them into the playoff?
It kind of depends. I think a lot of things would have to happen. Because you think that, Ohio State and Michigan are only going to have 1 loss. If that's one of those great games, it's, 42-38 or 42-40. Right. I would be hard pressed to say that they would jump either one of those 2 teams if it's a battle like that. But you never know. But that's why it's just like I've learned, I guess, in my experience and age, we like to react to the initial playoff rankings, but what we normally overreact. And I think it's just better just to not react and just say, oh, okay, I see what they did. Here's an opinion here, here's an opinion there. And the chips should fall as soon as we get done with this weekend. I think there's going to be some major moves on the top 10.
Follow him on Twitter at Gino Torretta. The Touchdown Radio Network game of the week is Miami versus Florida. 7:30 p.m. is the kickoff. And Gino joins us each week on Thursdays to talk college football here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Gino, enjoy the game this weekend. And the good news is it's not in Tallahassee.
Yes, sir. Home game for me.
Take care, my friend.
All right. I'll see you, Josh.
And, of course, our conversation with Gino Torretta being brought to you by Jenkins & Sons. Call Jenkins & Sons for whatever you need, because one call does it all. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy, because Jenkins technicians are trained to do it all. For new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing, and drain cleaning services. Give them a call at 609-641-6262 and visit them online at jenkinsandsons.com. When we return, we'll check in on the text board. 609-403-0973 is text board, and your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank Seattle. Again, I'll remind you, tonight on 97.3 ESPN FM, Eagles pregame coverage begins at 7. Mel Reese, Mike Quick on the call after 8 p.m. here in your home for Eagles football in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. If you're looking for the Phillies game, go to our sister station, Rock 104.1, or download the Rock 104.1 app. You'll be able to listen to the full Phillies game. Pregame coverage begins at 7. First pitch at 8:03 over on our sister station, Rock 104.1. I'll give you my previews and predictions for both games on the other side here on 97.3 ESPN. I'm Josh Hennig, and this is Game Night.
This is the radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. The Eagles continue the 2022 season tonight in Houston against the Texans.
He is hit, but he keeps his footing. Now he fumbles the football. Eagles have it. They picked it up. There's the turnover.
Pre-game coverage starts at 7 p.m. with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick calling all the action starting at 8:15. This is where the Philadelphia Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's official Eagles station.
Black Friday deals. The gifts are unreal. Shop thousands of Black Friday deals at JCPenney. Through Sunday, get gifts like our St. John's Bay women's puffer jacket, just $24.99. And quick dry towels from Home Expressions, only $4.99. Dazzle a jewelry lover with Yes Please diamonds and gemstones, now $19.99 each. We got your holiday. Black Friday deals. Shop. JCPenney. Offers valid on select items through 11/6. Excluded from coupons. Exclusions apply. See store or jcp.com for details.
Hey guys, JR here from WagerPro.com. I absolutely love one side of tonight's Thursday night football game, and it's yours absolutely free. Call 800-499-3733. That's 800-499-3733. 7-0 Philadelphia heads to NRG Stadium to take on a feisty 1-5-1 Houston team as a 14-point road favorite to start off Week 9 in pro football. Kick off your Week 9 with an easy winner with this game tonight. Call 800-499-3733. I love this game, and I'm releasing it free to all callers on my famous recorded hotline. Call 800-499-3733. That's 800-499-3733. One more time, guys. Call now. 800-499-3733. 800-499-3733. And visit WagerPro.com.
At the Home Depot, we have Black Friday savings all through November. And with that comes a joyful holiday bustle that we just love to hear. Although we also love the sound that comes after the holidays, when people put their new tools to use. In fact, we love it so much. When you buy select Milwaukee M18 kits, you'll get an extra tool for free. So after you're done filling the air with holiday magic, you can fill it with the sounds of doing. The Home Depot. How doers get more done.
It's spooky. It's scary. It's keeping you up at night. It's your car in your garage. Get to Matt Blatt Kia. They'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe more than your trade is worth. Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you released. Plus, if you have a job clearing $350 weekly, we finance your future, not your past. At Matt Blatt Kia, you're virtually approved. Don't see your new Kia on the lot? Doesn't mean you can't be driving it home tomorrow. Hundreds of new and certified Kias in stock are on the way, with zero down and zero payments for 90 days, with peace of mind. Matt Blatt Kia's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
On approved credit plus applicable taxes and fees. See dealer for details. Not all will qualify. Deferred payment through TFCU. Interest accrues from date of sale. Offers don't combine. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Ad paid for by the Sentinel Group. Attention Marines, military personnel, families, and contractors who were stationed at Camp Lejeune. Were you present at Camp Lejeune between August 1953 and December of 1987? You may be entitled to significant compensation. For nearly 34 years, those in the Marine Corps' base Camp Lejeune were exposed to contaminated drinking water, resulting in devastating injuries, including several forms of cancer, adverse birth outcomes, Parkinson's disease, and more. North Carolina's procedural laws have prevented victims from getting the justice they deserve, but passage of the Camp Lejeune Justice Act of 2022 would allow you or a loved one to file lawsuits seeking compensation for illnesses and injuries linked to the toxic water. Call today for your free consultation. 800-490-8291. Let our experienced attorneys fight to get you the compensation you deserve, and you pay nothing unless there's a recovery in your favor. Call 800-490-8291. That's 800-490-8291. Again, 800-490-8291.
Football season is in full swing at Vandal Sportsbook inside Bally's Atlantic City. Bet, watch, and win all season long. Plus, enjoy your favorite games from all over the world with 10 betting kiosks, 5 betting windows, 13 big screen TVs, and plenty of comfortable seating. Just head over to FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's in Atlantic City to get in on all the action this season. FanDuel wants every bettor's experience to be enjoyable and fun. Visit FanDuel.com/playwell to learn more. Plus, each player or to play and present in New Jersey. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
What a crazy night we got ahead of us. Phillies and Eagles simultaneously playing. You know, in the past, when the Phillies have been in the World Series and the Eagles have played at the same time, it's actually happened a few times, all right? So let me just document it for you guys. But the last 3 times, they've been on at different times of day, which has been a huge part of the situation. Back in 2009, the Eagles played the Giants at 1 p.m., and then the Phillies played the Yankees at 8:23 first pitch. Back in 2008, the Eagles played the Falcons at 1. The Phillies played the Rays at 8:30. Back in 1993, when the Eagles played the Giants at 1 p.m., the Phillies played the Blue Jays around 8:30. You got to go back to 1983 was the last time that the Phillies were in the World Series playing simultaneously as the Philadelphia Eagles. Back in 1983, the Eagles were at Texas Stadium, yes, way long ago, playing the Dallas Cowboys. Their kickoff was at 4. The Phillies were at Veterans Stadium playing the Orioles. Their first pitch was after 5 p.m. Now, that day, both teams lost. Now, I don't think there's a lot of analogies to be made here. That was a mediocre Eagles team at that point in time, and that was a Phillies team that was over the hill, and you could argue was a little lucky to get to the World Series that year. Okay, that was not the peak of that Phillies run. That was the end of that Phillies run in '83. So I don't think both teams are going to lose tonight. I actually think both teams win tonight. Tonight, I think the Phillies find a way. I think it'll be a high-scoring game. I think that this is the game where both managers are going to have to figure out how to put a tourniquet on this game. And I think the Phillies win by outscoring the Astros tonight. And I think the Eagles dominate the Texans from beginning to end. They might start out a little slowly. You know, there's a possibility this is like, 7-0 or 10-7 Texans early on. But I think the Eagles pull away quarter by quarter. They'll be up solidly at halftime, and they'll pull away in the second half. So I got the Eagles. See, here's the problem with the game tonight. If you're someone who wants to go over like FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's in Atlantic City and throw a wager on the game tonight, that's a game that I don't know if it's a smart move, because whenever you have a big spread in a primetime game, it gets dicey. And you're seeing that by the metrics, because there's a lot of people who are putting money on the Eagles. The problem is that it's both the sharps and the public like the Eagles in this game. And that's a situation where when the line opens at 5 and at certain books it's up to 14, it just makes you wonder, do you just ride the wave and hope for the best? I think the smartest move is, if you're someone who wants to wager on this game, there's 2 things to do. 1, shop for the lowest number you can. I know at FanDuel Sportsbook, it's 13.5, but certain books have 14. If you can get 13.5, that's the only number to take. Okay? When it comes to the over-under, we're starting to see more and more of these Thursday night games hitting the over. I told you guys to take the over last week for Thursday Night Football, and we hit on that. This game right now is 45.5. Well, if the Eagles are favored by 13.5, let's say, and if the over-under is 45.5, What you're telling me is that the odds makers are saying, according to their analysis, that this is a game where the Eagles are going to score what? Like what does the score have to be to get you to 45? Are we talking about, 35-10? Are we talking about 30-15? Like, that's what we're talking about here. So, 35-10 and 35-15 both sound like games that open the door for at least a little scoring. Even the Steelers scored 13 points last week, and this is in Houston. It's not in Philadelphia. So, there might be some garbage touchdown here. So, I'm going to go with, what is even a safe number at this point? I think 13 makes a lot of sense for Houston. Their team total right now is 15.5. So, let's just, for the sake of just using the numbers, let's say that Houston does score 14. Well, if Houston scores 14, I think Philadelphia scores more than 30. So I'm thinking like 35-14. So I got the Eagles and the Phillies both winning tonight. I think the Eagles are the better team, and I think that the Phillies are going to have to win a high-scoring game. There's going to be a lot of people on the edge of their seat with this Phillies game tonight. Don't forget, you can hear the Phillies on our sister station, Rock 104.1, while we have the Eagles here on 97.3 ESPN. Pregame coverage for both games starts at 7 p.m. Over on the text board at 609-403-0973, Jeff in Ocean City chimes in. Let me scroll those messages. Hey, Josh, I got the Phillies 6-3 tonight. I'm liking also what Sal Powell said the Eagles win by 20. Let's go. That's from Jeff in Ocean City. And Jeff says he likes it because what he did was he decided to parlay Phillies money line, which is really good value, actually, at plus 128. It's probably the best value you're ever going to see in a World Series home team at home in a series tied 2-2. And then the Eagles 14 is the number. Jeff, I would have liked your parlay more if you would have gotten the Eagles at 13.5 instead of 14. In fact, if I were you, I would actually, if you still have time, cash out of that. Because I see your wager script here on the screen in front of me from the text. I would cash out of that, get the Eagles number and take it down a notch or two, and then rebet that with the Eagles at a smaller spread. Because the problem with this game tonight is you don't want to end up in a situation where you're sweating that game. Don't sweat it. Just let it happen, and you can focus more on the Phillies. I mean, that's at least what I would do if I were you, Jeff. By the way, Jeff, yes, you may be running into me tonight. And I agree. A lot of people have been texting in, how do the Eagles lose? How could the Eagles lose? Well, the key to the Eagles losing comes down to the defense. The problem with the Eagles right now is that I think the offense has pretty much found its groove. I think Jalen and that offense is in a great state of mind. The problem for the Eagles is, do they take their foot off the gas and let the Texans score some points? The Texans are not a great football team, but they are a team that has multiple times scored 20. They scored 20 against the Bears, 24 against the Chargers. They scored 20 against the Raiders. Those were all losses. They're scoring 20 points in losses. They tied with the Colts 2020. This is an offense that can get 20 points, and that's the worry. The Eagles defense has to put a stop to this from minute one. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. Eagles football coverage next on 97.3. Yes.
Get in the car.
No, Dad, not your car. It smells horrid, and it looks...
All right, for the YouTube-only crowd, thanks for watching the show. I don't have any special picks here on the post show, but I just ask you, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe, share it. I do have, just ask about 2 minutes of your time for a topic that's a little serious in sports. And that is, for those who didn't see the news, Kyrie Irving is in the news because of his sharing, promoting, and then not coming out overtly against some pretty disturbing rhetoric. So here's the deal. Kyrie Irving recently shared a link to a propaganda movie. I'm going to put it nicely. I'm trying to be as nice as possible, but it's my YouTube channel. I can say what I want, right? Kyrie Irving came out and shared a link to a propaganda movie that is a part of a movement that is a radical offshoot of the civil rights movement in the 1960s. People like Louis Farrakhan, the Nation of Islam, as well as the people that Kyrie Irving shared, which is known as the the people who believe in the Black Israelite movement, where that the African American community are the original ancestors of Israel and Hebrew nationalism. Basically, Kyrie shared that, and it's a very disturbing film. It's a film that spreads a lot of lies and bases a lot of its information on its own false information. It has false sources for its false information. Today, Kyrie spoke to the media and he refused to apologize. He said he tried to make it like he's out there trying to learn the world and, he's doing his research in real time and all this stuff. And, what I would say to Kyrie is, if Kyrie was speaking to me right now, is I think it's more important to be upfront with what you're doing and not share things on the internet. I don't mind you doing your research. I don't mind you looking into things. I don't even mind you watching a propaganda film. We've all at some point or another have stumbled across something that by the end of it, maybe we didn't agree with, right? Or we thought was not good, but you don't share it on the internet. You don't talk about how, the truth and reality and all these things, because you sound like an extremist. The problem with, the cancel culture today is people take these anti-positions too far. They get so aggressive in there. See, you hate Jewish people. You're anti-Semitic. We should cancel you. Kanye West got canceled because his comments against Jewish people were pretty ridiculous. But Kanye said a lot of ridiculous things. So why was it that him having anti-Semitic views and comments, why is it now that we are angry with Kanye? When Kanye wore the White Lives Matter shirt, people were mad. But Kanye turns around and says some pretty aggressive, unnecessary things about the Hebrew people and Jewish people in Israel. Then it's all cancel him. I think this is the first time in history people have cared this much about Jewish people, if I'm being honest with you. Jewish people, when they were in the Holocaust, when Jewish people were, being bombed for 6 days in Israel, I don't think people cared as much as they do about this. I think people just want a reason to hate people who they don't like in the first place. I think that people are using what is going on with Kyrie and what is going on with Kanye West, and they're saying, yeah, you went too far, and now this is our opportunity to put our foot on your neck. And that's the problem with today's society. It's not that anything that Kanye West or Kyrie did before this or said before this was really that much different than it is now. There are patterns, if you ever study psychology and sociology and people's behavior, that say if a person believes X, then they're going to believe Y, which leads them to Z, right? If you're someone who believes in, incredible conspiracy theories, then maybe you'll also believe some other conspiracy theories that might not be true. So for every weird thing that somebody believes in that is believable, then they make that jump to something that is not believable or is not factual. That's how we end up in this situation. So, I think we got to be very careful as a society when we start pointing the finger at people, because at the end of the day, the reason why those people feel the need to have these extreme views is because society treats them a certain way. Remember the next time you see somebody hated on, because you know what? You're going to see the next person hated on is next weekend. When Black Panther Wakanda Forever comes out, Latita Wright is going to be trying to be painted in the same, realm as Kyrie Irving and Kanye West. To which my question is, why are we hating on black people? I don't see anybody canceling white people right now. It's all black people. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. I'll catch you tomorrow.